Princess Bride, S. Morgenstern's classic tale of true love and high adventure. The Good Parts version, abridged by William Goldman. Part 5, the announcement, Section 7. Physic. Turkish women are famous for the size of their babies. The only happy newborn ever to weigh over 24 pounds upon entrance was a product of a southern Turkish union. Turkish hospital records list a total of 11 children who weighed over 20 pounds at birth, and 95 more who weighed between 15 and 20. Now all of these 106 cherubs did what babies usually do at birth. They lost 3 or 4 ounces, and it took them the better part of a week before they got it totally back. But more accurately, 105 of them lost weight just after they were born. Not Fezzik. His first afternoon, he gained a pound. Since he weighed but 15, and since his mother gave birth 2 weeks early, the doctors weren't unduly concerned. It's because you came 2 weeks too soon, they explained to Fezzik's mother. That explains it. Actually, of course, it didn't explain anything. But whenever doctors are confused about something, which is really more frequently than any of us would do well to think about, they always snatch at something in the vicinity of the case and add, that explains it. If Fezzik's mother had come late, they would have said, well, you came late, that explains it. Or, well, it was raining during delivery, this added weight and simply moisture, that explains it. A healthy baby doubles his birth weight in about 6 months and triples it in a year. When Fezzik was a year old, he weighed 85 pounds. He wasn't fat, understand. He looked like a perfectly normal, strong 85-pound kid. Not all that normal, actually. He was pretty hairy for a 1-year-old. By the time he reached kindergarten, he was ready to shave. He was the size of a normal man by this time, and all the other children made his life miserable. At first, naturally, they were scared to death. Even then, Fezzik looked fierce. But once they found out he was chicken, well, they weren't about to let an opportunity like that get away. Bully, bully, they taunted Fezzik during morning yogurt break. I'm not, Fezzik would say out loud. To himself, he would go, woolly, woolly. He would never dare to consider himself a poet, because he wasn't anything like that. He just loved rhymes. Anything you said out loud, he rhymed it inside. Sometimes the rhymes made sense. Sometimes they didn't. Fezzik never cared much about sense. All that ever mattered was the sound. Coward. Towered. I'm not. Then fight, one of them would say, and would swing all he had and hit Fezzik in the stomach, confident that all Fezzik would do was go oof and stand there, because he never hit back, no matter what you did to him. Oof. Another swing. Another. A good stiff punch to the kidneys, maybe. Maybe a kick to the knee, in the knee. It would go on like that until Fezzik would burst into tears and run away. One day at home, Fezzik's father called. Come here. Fezzik, as always, obeyed. Dry your tears, his mother said. 2 children had beaten him very badly just before. He did what he could to stop crying. Fezzik, this can't go on, his mother said. They must stop picking on you. Kicking on you. I don't mind so much, Fezzik said. Well, you should mind, his father said. He was a carpenter with big hands. Come on outside, I'm going to teach you how to fight. Please, I don't want. Obey your father. They trooped out to the backyard. Make a fist, his father said. Fezzik did his best. His father looked at his mother, then at the heavens. He can't even make a fist, his father said. He's trying. He's only 6. Don't be so hard on him. Fezzik's father cared for his son greatly, and he tried to keep his voice soft so Fezzik wouldn't burst out crying. But it wasn't easy. Honey, Fezzik's father said, look, when you make a fist, you don't put your thumb inside your fingers. You keep your thumb outside your fingers. Because if you keep your thumb inside your fingers and you hit somebody, what will happen is you'll break your thumb. And that isn't good, because the whole object when you hit somebody is to hurt the other guy, not yourself. Blurt, I don't want to hurt anybody, Daddy. I don't want you to hurt anybody, Fezzik. But if you know how to take care of yourself, and they know you know, they won't bother you anymore. Father, I don't mind so much. Well, we do, his mother said. They shouldn't pick on you. Fezzik, just because you need a shave. Back to the fist, his father said. Have we learned how? Fezzik made a fist again, this time with the thumb outside. He's a natural learner, his mother said. She cared for him as greatly as his father did. Now hit me, Fezzik's father said. No, I don't want to do that. Hit your father, Fezzik. Maybe he doesn't know how to hit, Fezzik's father said. Maybe not, Fezzik's mother shook her head sadly. Watch, honey, Fezzik's father. See? Simple. You just make a fist like you already know, and then pull back your arm a little, and aim for where you want to land, and let go. Show your father what a natural learner you are, Fezzik's mother said. Make a punch. Hit him a good one. Fezzik made a punch toward his father's arm. Fezzik's father stared at the heavens again in frustration. He came close to your arm, Fezzik's mother said quickly, before his son's face could cloud. That was very good for a start, Fezzik. Tell him what a good start he made, she said to her husband. It was in the right general direction, Fezzik's father managed. If only I'd been standing 1 yard farther west, it would have been perfect. I'm very tired, Fezzik said. When you learn so much so fast, you get so tired. I do anyway. Please, may I be excused? Not yet, Fezzik's mother said. Honey, please hit me. Really hit me. Try. You're a smart boy. Hit me a good one, Fezzik's father begged. Tomorrow, Daddy, I promise. Tears began to form. Crying's not going to work, Fezzik, his father exploded. It's not going to work on me. It's not going to work on your mother. You're going to do what I say, and what I say is you're going to hit me. And if it takes all night, you're going to stand right here, and if it takes all week, you're going to stand right here, and if it splat. This was before emergency warrants, and that was too bad, at least for Fezzik's father, because there was no place to take him after Fezzik's punch landed, except to his own bed, where he remained with his eyes shut for a day and a half, except for when the milkman came to fix his broken jaw. This was not before doctors. But in Turkey, they hadn't gotten around to claiming the bone business yet. Milkmen still were in charge of bones. The logic being that since milk was so good for bones, who would know more about broken bones than a milkman? When Fezzik's father was able to open his eyes as much as he wanted, they had a family talk, the three of them. You're very strong, Fezzik, his father said. Actually, that is not strictly true. What his father meant was, you're very strong, Fezzik. Ever since the milkman had wired his jaws together, all he could manage was the letter Z. But he had a very expressive face, and his wife understood him perfectly. He says, you're very strong, Fezzik. I thought I was, Fezzik answered. Last year, I hit a tree once when I was very mad. I knocked it down. It was a small tree, but still. I figured that had to mean something. He says he's giving up on being a carpenter, Fezzik. Oh no, Fezzik said. You'll be all well soon, Daddy. The milkman practically promised me. He wants to give up being a carpenter, Fezzik, but what will he do? Fezzik's mother answered this one herself. She and her husband had been up half the night agreeing on the decision. He's going to be your manager, Fezzik. Fighting is the national sport of Turkey. We're all going to be rich and famous. But Mommy, Daddy, I don't like fighting. Fezzik's father reached out and gently patted his son's knee. He said. It's going to be wonderful, his mother translated. Fezzik only burst into tears. They had his first professional match in the village of Sandiki on a steaming hot Sunday. Fezzik's parents had a terrible time getting him into the ring. They were absolutely confident of victory because they had worked very hard. They taught Fezzik for 3 solid years before they mutually agreed that he was ready. Fezzik's father handled tactics and ring strategy while his mother was more in charge of diet and training, and they had never been happier. Fezzik had never been more miserable. He was scared and frightened and terrified, all rolled into one. No matter how they reassured him, he refused to enter the arena because he knew something, even though outside he looked 20 and his mustache was slightly coming along nicely. His mustache was already coming along nicely. Inside, he was still this 9-year-old who liked rhyming things. No, he said, I won't, and you can't make me. After always slave for these 3 years, his father said. His jaw was almost as good as new now. He'll hurt me, Fezzik said. Life is pain, his mother said. Anybody that says different is selling something. Please, I'm not ready. I forget the holds. I'm not graceful, and I fall down a lot. It's true. It was. Their only real fear was, were they rushing him? Were they rushing him? When the going gets tough, the tough get going, Fezzik's mother said. Get going, Fezzik, his father said. Fezzik stood his ground. Listen, we're not going to threaten you, Fezzik's parents said, more or less together. We all care for each other too much to pull any of that stuff. If you don't want to fight, nobody's going to force you. We'll just leave you alone forever. Fezzik's picture of hell was being alone forever. He had told them that when he was 5. They marched into the arena, then to face the champion of Sandiki, who had been champion for 11 years since he was 24. He was very graceful and wide and stood 6 feet in height, only half a foot less than Fezzik. Fezzik didn't stand a chance. He was too clumsy. He kept falling down or getting his holds on backward, so they weren't holds at all. The champion of Sandiki toyed with him. Fezzik kept getting thrown down or falling down or tumbling down or stumbling down. He always got up and tried again, but the champion of Sandiki was much too fast for him and too clever and much, much too experienced. The crowd laughed and ate baklava and enjoyed the whole spectacle. Until Fezzik got his arms around the champion of Sandiki. The crowd grew very quiet then. Fezzik lifted him up. No noise. Fezzik squeezed and squeezed. That's enough now, Fezzik's father said. Fezzik laid the other man down. Thank you, he said. You're a wonderful fighter, and I was lucky. The ex-champion of Sandiki kind of grunted. Raise your hands, you're the winner, his mother reminded. Fezzik stood in the middle of the ring with his hands raised. Boo, said the crowd. Animal, ape, gorilla, boo. They did not linger long in Sandiki. As a matter of fact, it wasn't very safe from then on to linger long anywhere. They fought the champion of Isper. Ooh, the champion of Samal. Ooh, they fought in Bolu. They fought in Zile. Ooh. I don't care what anybody says, Fezzik's mother told him one winter afternoon. You're my son and you're wonderful. It was gray and dark and they were hot-footing it out of Constantinople just as fast as they could because Fezzik had just demolished their champion before most of the crowd was even seated. I'm not wonderful, Fezzik said. They're right to insult me. I'm too big. Whenever I fight, it looks like I'm picking up somebody. Maybe, Fezzik's father began a little hesitantly. Maybe, Fezzik, if you'd just possibly kind of sort of lose a few fights, they might not yell at us so much. The wife whirled on the husband. The boy is 11 and already you want him to throw fights? Nothing like that. No, don't get all excited. But maybe if he'd even looked like he was suffering a little, they'd let up on us. I'm suffering, Fezzik said. He was. Let it show a little more. I'll try, Daddy. That's a good boy. I can't help being strong. It's not my fault. I don't even exercise. I think it's time to head for Greece. Fezzik's father said then, we've beaten everyone in Turkey, and who'll fight us? We've beaten everyone in Turkey who'll fight us, and athletics began in Greece. No one appreciates talent like the Greeks. I just hate it when they go, boo, Fezzik said. He did. Now his private picture of hell was being left alone with everybody going, boo, at him forever. They'll love you in Greece, Fezzik's mother said. They fought in Greece. Arg! Arg was Greek for boo. Bulgaria, Yugoslavia, Czechoslovakia, Romania. Boo! They tried the Orient, the Jiu-Jitsu's champion of Korea, the karate champion of Siam, the kung fu champion of all India. C note on arg. Arg. In Mongolia, his parents died. We've done everything we can for you, Fezzik. Good luck, they said, and they were gone. It was a terrible thing, a plague that swept everything before it. Fezzik would have died too, only naturally he never got sick. Alone he continued on, across the Gobi Desert, hitching rides sometimes with passing caravans, and it was there he learned how to make them stop booing. Fight groups. It all began in a caravan on the Gobi. When the caravan head said, I'll bet my camel drivers can take you. There were only 3 of them, so Fezzik said, fine. He'd try, and he did, and he won, naturally. And everybody seemed happy. Fezzik was thrilled. He never thought just one person again he never fought just one person again if it was possible. For a while he traveled from place to place battling gangs for local charities. But his business head was never much, and besides, doing things alone was even less appealing to him now that he was in his late teens than it had been before. He joined a traveling circus. All the other performers grumbled at him because they said he was eating more than his share of the food. So he stayed pretty much to himself except when it came to his work. But then, one night, when Fezzik had just turned 20, he got the shock of his life. The booing was back again. He could not believe it. He just squeezed half a dozen men into submission, cracked the heads of half a dozen more. What did they want from him? What did they want from him? The truth was simply this. He had gotten too strong. He would never measure himself, but everybody whispered he must be over 7 feet tall, and he would never step on a scale. But people claimed he weighed 400. And not only that, he was quick now. All the years of experience had made him almost inhuman. He knew all the tricks, could counter all the holds. Animal, tape, or ape. Gorilla, boo. That night, alone in his tent, Fezzik wept. He was a freak. Speak, he still loved chapters. A two-eyed cyclops, eye drops, like the tears that were dropping from his half-closed eyes. By the next morning, he'd gotten control of himself. At least he still had his circus friends around him. That week, the circus fired him. The crowds were booing them now, too. And the fat lady threatened to walk out, and the midgets were fuming, and that was it for Fezzik. That was in the middle of Greenland, and as everybody knows, in Greenland, there's one person for every 20 square miles of real estate. Probably the circus was pretty stupid taking a booking there, but that wasn't the point. The point was that Fezzik was alone, in the loneliest place in the world, just sitting there on a rock, watching the circus pull away. He was still sitting there the next day when Fazzini, the Sicilian, found him. Fazzini flattered him, promised to keep the booze away. Fazzini needed Fezzik, but not half as much as Fezzik needed Fazzini. As long as Fazzini was around, you couldn't be alone. Whatever Fazzini said, Fezzik did. And if that meant crushing the head of the man in black, so be it.